Good afternoon. How are you today? Welcome to Encoder Products live demonstration at virtual PAC Expo 2020. My name is Jared Stearns. I'll be your host for the next 10 minutes or so. And if you look in the attendees here, Mr. Steve Diltz will be in the audience to handle any questions that you may have and answer them. Today we're going to discuss Encoder Products draw wire encoders. So, what's a draw wire encoder? Well, let's start with what is an encoder in general. Encoder is a device, specifically a rotary encoder, is a device that allows you to get position or speed or measure a distance, and it does that by rotating. There's two flavors of encoders, incremental encoders and absolute encoders. Incremental encoders operate on a very simple principle. They create pulses. Think about when you were a kid. You put a playing card in the spoke of your bike, and you rode your bike around and annoyed your parents. Well, that's what an encoder does, except it does it with light and lines on a disc. When I rotate the shaft of an encoder, the light is interrupted and it creates pulses. When you buy an encoder and you get it with 1,000 lines on the disc, when I do exactly one rotation of this shaft, it'll create 1,000 pulses. And you can count those pulses and you can do a lot with them. I can put a wheel on it, put it on a conveyor belt, and then I'll know how far I've gone. Or I can count those pulses, divide by time, and I know how fast I'm going. Very similar to an incremental encoder is an absolute encoder. An absolute encoder operates on a very simple principle, except that it actually gives you a discrete position. Whereas an incremental encoder is just going tick, 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 like the second hand on your watch, tick, 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 tick in a circle. An absolute encoder is saying it's 130, it's 131, it's 132. And you can walk away and check back and look at your watch and go, oh, now it's 240. Okay, I didn't have to actually count the pulses in between. Absolute encoders give discrete positions within a circle, constantly reporting that, not just ticks. So that's kind of a very quick background of what encoders are. So what happens if we take this encoder and we put a drum on it, kind of like a drum on the winch of a Jeep, except much more precise, a very precision machine drum, and put a steel cable on it with a spring. That makes it a draw wire encoder. So what a draw wire encoder does is we have here our very famous tried and true cube encoder attached to a drum, a precision machine drum with a 5-inch circumference with steel cable, stainless steel cable around that drum. When I pull this cable, it rotates the encoder, in this case being incremental, creating those ticks, those pulses. So I'm able to count those ticks and figure out how far in or out my cable is. This encoder puts out 500 ticks or pulses per inch. So I've got a resolution here of 2/1000 per tick mark of an inch of travel. So I can very accurately measure with this encoder the linear distance. If you look at our soon-to-be, this is a preview by the way, very special for PAC Expo, our Model LCX here, you can actually see the inside of this. How do I look there? Can you kind of see it in the screen? All right. When I pull this wire and rotate it, you can see that it's rotating the hub that the encoder shaft would mount to. So all a draw wire encoder is taking basically a very fancy measuring tape with steel cable and a spring, and we're putting it on an encoder and creating a linear measurement device. So why would you use a draw wire encoder? There's a lot of ways out there to accomplish linear measurement. The first, which if you caught our show yesterday, which might have been difficult with PAC Expo, but if you were able to catch it, our wheel encoders are used for linear measurement as well. We had this yesterday on our conveyor belt here, and you can use it for running on belts or running against surfaces and go to linear measurement. The trouble with a wheel encoder is, what if you have an application that requires repeatable back and forth positioning? When you reverse a wheel in different directions, especially a rubber wheel such as these, there's going to be losses that slowly accumulate in accuracies. If you need something going back and forth, say a print head on a printer that's constantly going across and back, and you need to repeatedly position it back to zero every time, a wheel encoder is not going to do that for you. Another solution, which we don't sell, is scales. Maybe you're looking at a scale to install in your system. Well, hey, scales are great. They're little pieces of either metal or maybe gold foil or plastic that you would put on your entire distance of linear travel. The trouble with scales is, what if you have 20 feet or 40 feet you got to move? I just did a 20-meter gantry crane. That would be a really long scale. It would be expensive and they're prone to failure if you have contamination. Maybe you have oil and coolants, maybe you have metal chips. If you scratch or damage those scales, you now lose positioning in that area. A draw wire encoder eliminates the need for an expensive scale, even over long distances. This draw wire itself, in its largest model, can go to 42.5 meters. That's pretty far, and you're not investing for that length of scale. Because of the hard coupling of the drum to the encoder, there's no backlash in here. So you can repeatedly measure that linear distance over and over, back and forth, as you could with a scale. We have two main models of draw wire encoders. Our earlier model and our tried and true model is our LCE. That is a 50-inch maximum draw with a stainless steel cable, again, on a 5-inch drum. This encoder is only offered right now with, in the catalog anyway, with incremental feedback, and you can get up to 2 thousandths of resolution per inch. We do offer, we're a very nimble company. We're based out of Idaho. We're going to get to that in a second. And we do offer a lot of customization services. I worked on projects already where if you had a need for a draw wire and you needed resolutions greater than that, maybe you wanted to get to a thousandth of an inch or 50 millionths, we can do that as well. Our model LCX, this is the preview here, is what is being added to the catalog as we speak. This guy goes out from 1 meter to 42.5 meters. The one I'm holding in my hand here is a 5-meter draw wire. And we decided to think outside the box this time. When you order our model LCE, you're ordering the whole package. You've got the encoder and the draw wire together in one. So you have to specify your electronic desires. What would I offer resolution? What do I offer an output type? And does Encoder Products offer that with this attached to it, with this draw wire? So we decided we're going to sell these as accessories. You're going to pick the length you need. Hey, Jared, I'm doing an elevator. I need 30 feet. Okay, we'll get you that. We're going to get that length you need. But I want Profinet. I want Ethercat. I want to put this on my Ethernet. I want to put this on a bus. I want to put it on a CAN bus. I need SSI protocol. I really want this specific resolution that I know I can get with your programmable incremental encoder. Well, this device accepts all common 58 millimeter encoders that have clamping flanges. And in the world of encoders, that is a universal mount with ours and anybody else's. So this allows you to order the length wire you need, and then you can choose the encoder from our catalog that has the outputs and the resolution you want, whether it's a multi-turn absolute Profinet encoder, as this one is, or you can order our incremental 58 millimeter encoders as well if you want incremental signals. And simply take this, it slides in, you use a set screw, or excuse me, a socket head cap screw, you take an Allen key, you tighten it on the hub, you take an Allen key, you tighten it on the shaft, making sure to orient the cable exits however you want, and that's it. Installation is easy peasy. Bolt it down, hook this up to whatever's moving, and you're good to go. So the LCX offers a lot of flexibility in the output types that you'd need. So where are some applications? What are some other reasons I'd use a draw wire, especially in packaging? Well, any kind of horizontal or vertical movement, such as printing. Elevators are another one. There's a lot of material handling at Pack Expo. Maybe you're in the business of moving products up and down vertical elevators. That's been a great use for these. Been in some warehouses that have 4 stories of redundant material handling, and when they need to move material between them, they need to position that elevator between carts. Very difficult to do when all you're using is proximity sensors and you just know between what floors it is. Now you can get an accurate position of that carriage. Maybe you're working on something where there's high temperatures or low temperatures or a lot of contamination. Some examples for you is I have these encoders on injection mold machines because then the injector is very hot. You don't want sensitive electronics near it. So this allows me to, hey, I'm going to hook this up to the injector. I'm going to position this away from the heat, and now I can measure this motion from far away and protect the encoder, and then my customer who bought my machine isn't calling me to replace these all the time. I worked on a project for a semiconductor manufacturer. They do wafer cooking, and they need to place the wafers in an oven. That's a pretty hot oven. They needed the encoder 10 feet away. They couldn't get a scale up there. So a draw wire encoder was another solution for that. Material handling also involves forklifts. If you need to know the height of the forks on your forklift, you can use a draw wire encoder versus rack and pinion, that's very common now, and get a much more accurate position of those forks. Few options that you can get. Our LCX has some upgraded options versus our LCE. We do offer this with a corrosion resistant cable that allows you to put it in situations where maybe that stainless steel cable could really get impacted. I think I wanted to cover that. And The linearity, oh, I wrote a 6 there. What is a 6? Linearity, plus or minus 0.05%. So that linearity is kind of like accuracy. It's your error over the maximum range. So however far I'm going to pull this out, even if I ordered 5 meters, my application is only 3.5. Take 3.5 meters, multiply it by 0.0005, and that's going to be your accuracy over that distance. And that accuracy is generally thought of for horizontal, where you could have, the effects of gravity in the cable. If you put these draw wires in vertical applications where gravity is not pulling on the cable, they're even more accurate. I have seen these installed on many printers again for doing that Y positioning of the print head moving back and forth, and it accurately prints. There's no problems with any kind of missing of the pixels of the print itself. So this solution and more available from Encoder Products Company. We're a US-based manufacturer based in Idaho. That's pretty important to you. If you draw Idaho on a map, I like to draw it in the air here. Encoder Products is up here, right near the Canadian border. It's in the middle of nowhere. And that's been an advantage to us, a great advantage, especially in this market, in this climate today. We didn't have a machine shop down the street. We didn't have a marketing company to print our brochures down the street. We did everything in-house. We're vertically integrated. We machine our own hubs. We machine our own shafts. We print our own discs. We populate our own PCBs. We build our encoders in-house. We have billions. Our encoders are so customizable that there are billions of ways to combine our part number, and yet all of our incremental encoders, for example, ship in 4 to 6 days from the date of purchase, built to order. We don't have anything in stock. We also offer same day and 1 to 2 day expedites if you're in a down situation. That really sets us apart from the competition. I'm 1 of 4 on the outside. There's not a lot of us on the outside. So how do we service you? Well, we work with a group of world-class distributors in the United States and around the world. So no matter where you're located, there's going to be somebody nearby that is trained on our products and will help you spec the right product for your application, whether you're an OEM or an end user. They'll make sure you're taken care of and getting what you need. And if you're in the Northeast, you got me as well. Lucky you. So thank you very much for attending our meeting today, discussing draw wire encoders. You're going to be getting a follow-up email with more information on these. I encourage you to look at it. Please leave us any notes, any comments there in the GoToMeeting. Thank you for watching. Enjoy the rest of your day.